Are you truly listening to your spirit, or just echoing ancient doctrines? For centuries, seekers of truth have wrestled with this tension between what we're told to believe and what our soul actually knows. Today, we're going to challenge everything you thought you knew about faith and empower you to unlock your authentic spiritual blueprint. I used to believe my spiritual path was laid out for me, a divine script already written. All I had to do was follow the lines, obey the teachings, stay on the righteous path. But then, a quiet voice began whispering something different. It didn't sound like any sermon I'd heard. It sounded like truth. It wasn't loud, but it was real. And once I listened, my entire spiritual journey transformed. Because what if the spiritual path you're on right now isn't truly yours? In a world brimming with ancient traditions, sacred texts, and countless spiritual pathways, how do we find our truth? How do we discern the authentic, whisper-soft voice of our own inner wisdom from the well-trodden, often rigid paths laid out by established dogma? That's what we're here to explore. This channel is your guide to cultivating a deeper connection with that inner knowing, to foster a path of personalized spiritual growth that truly resonates with you. It's about empowering ourselves to navigate the spiritual landscape with an open heart and an awakened mind. Have you ever felt it? That subtle nudge, that unmistakable gut feeling, that quiet conviction in your soul telling you something profound. Maybe it was a sudden urge to call an old friend only to find out they really needed to hear from you. Or a strong sense to not take a particular path, only to later discover it would have led to a difficult situation. That, my friends, is your intuition speaking. It's not logic, it's not analysis, it's a deeper knowing that bypasses the rational mind. For centuries, our ancestors relied on this inner guidance for survival, for connection, for wisdom. But in our modern world, with its relentless pace, its endless distractions, and its constant external noise, we've often inadvertently drowned out this vital internal GPS. We're bombarded with information, with opinions, with shoulds from every direction. It's easy to lose touch with that quiet, persistent voice within. But your intuition is always there, always trying to communicate with you. The trick is learning to recognize its language. How does it speak? Often it's through subtle signs we frequently dismiss as mere coincidence. It might be a recurring dream, a persistent thought that keeps returning, a sudden feeling of warmth or cold, a tingling sensation, or even just a quiet certainty that defies explanation. It's the universe and your higher self trying to get your attention. I encourage you, start paying attention. What is your inner compass trying to tell you? So, why is this inner knowing so powerful? Why has humanity, for millennia, gravitated towards established spiritual structures, what we're broadly calling dogma? It's a crucial question, and the answer isn't as simple as it's all bad. In fact, there's a profound, almost primal human need that dogma has historically fulfilled: the need for comfort and belonging. Imagine living in ancient times, facing the vast, often terrifying unknowns of existence, the unpredictable forces of nature, the mystery of life and death, the sheer scale of the cosmos. It's overwhelming, right? Dogma steps in and offers answers. It provides a narrative, a framework for understanding the world, our place in it, and what happens next. It's a map in a bewildering wilderness. And with that map comes immense comfort. Suddenly, you're not alone. You're part of a community that shares these answers, these rituals, these beliefs. There's a shared sense of purpose, a collective identity. This sense of belonging is a powerful balm against the existential anxieties of being human. It offers solace, guidance, and a moral code to live by, providing clear distinctions between right and wrong. However, this comfort, while deeply appealing, often comes with a significant trade-off. What begins as a supportive framework can, over time, become a cage. When dogma becomes rigid, when its answers are presented as the only answers, it can stifle personal inquiry and individual spiritual exploration. It discourages asking too many questions. It can invalidate personal experience if it deviates from the prescribed path, and it can create a fear of straying from the truth as defined by the institution. The very structures that offered comfort can then limit our spiritual evolution. Our inner compass, our intuition, starts to whisper one thing, but the established dogma demands another. And that's where the tension lies, the heart of our discussion. It's about recognizing the profound value dogma has offered, while also understanding where its grip might be preventing us from reaching our fullest, most authentic spiritual potential. We've acknowledged the comfort and community that dogma provides, but now we must confront its inherent limitations, particularly in our rapidly evolving modern world. The world is constantly shifting, our understanding of the cosmos is expanding daily, and yet, many dogmatic interpretations remain rigidly fixed in time. The central pitfall is this: rigidity. Dogma, by definition, offers a set of established principles held as incontrovertibly true. While this provides a sense of certainty, it often fails to account for one fundamental reality: the continuous nature of revelation and growth. Spiritual truths, like life itself, are dynamic. What was a necessary, helpful framework 2,000 years ago may be a severe restriction today. When an interpretation becomes so rigid that it cannot be questioned, it creates an environment where personal experience and new knowledge are often viewed as a threat rather than a gift. The consequence? The stifling of individual spiritual inquiry. Our intuition whispers a new truth, a realization about love, morality, or the divine that differs from the established script, and the internal conflict begins. When the external framework is deemed infallible, the individual is left to believe their own authentic experience must be flawed or even wrong. Dogma can unintentionally replace genuine spiritual exploration with mere adherence to rules. It shifts the focus from an internal, loving connection with the divine to an external fear of breaking a prescribed law. We become focused on performing the faith correctly, rather than experiencing the truth personally. It also creates an us versus them mentality. If the framework is the only truth, then those outside the framework, with different paths, different revelations, must, by necessity, be incorrect. This is where dogma's framework becomes its cage, locking out compassion, understanding, and the recognition that truth can express itself in a multitude of ways. Ultimately, dogma's grip becomes a limitation when it convinces us that the answers are outside of us, written in a book, spoken by an authority figure, or contained within a structure. It tells us we are students following a set lesson plan, when in fact we are the creators of our own spiritual curriculum, guided by an infinitely wise inner teacher. We've seen the wisdom of intuition and the limitations of rigid dogma. Now let's move past the theory and dive into the most important part: reclaiming your intuitive power. This isn't about discarding all structure. It's about making your inner voice the primary authority in your spiritual life. The first step is always the same: quiet the external noise. Your intuition is a whisper, and you simply cannot hear it over the roar of the world's demands, headlines, and endless scrolling. We need practical, actionable techniques to create space. Mindfulness is not about clearing your mind. It's about observing it without judgment. Start with just 5 minutes a day. Focus on your breath. When a thought comes, whether it's a worry, an idea, or a should from dogma, label it and let it pass. By consistently creating this quiet pocket, you begin to distinguish the loud, frantic noise of the ego and external conditioning from the steady, gentle pulse of your intuition. This is a powerful practice. Don't write about your day. Write to your deepest self. Ask a challenging question. What step should I take next in my career? What fear is holding me back? Then, without editing, without overthinking, just write the very first thing that comes to your mind. This is often called morning pages or stream of consciousness writing. The insights that emerge when you bypass the thinking mind are often pure, unfiltered intuition. Nature is the ultimate detox for the modern mind. When you immerse yourself in the natural world, you step out of man-made structures, both physical and psychological. Nature operates on cycles, rhythm, and profound silence. Simply sitting by a body of water or walking among trees forces your nervous system to synchronize with a deeper, more ancient rhythm. Intuitive insights often flood in when your mind is no longer distracted by human-created complexity. Now, let me share why this is so vital. Countless individuals have transformed their lives, and sometimes the world, by trusting their intuition over external dictates. Think of great artists, scientists, or even everyday people making profound life changes. The person who left a comfortable, well-paying job because their gut screamed, "This isn't your path." The activist who followed an inner moral certainty, even when the rest of society called it radical. The healer who knew which herbal remedy to use, defying the rigid medical texts of their era. These are real-life examples of people who chose the unique, winding path of intuition over the straight, comfortable road of dogma. Your intuition is your personalized spiritual curriculum. It honors your unique history, your specific lessons, and your highest potential. Dogma can offer a beautiful starting point, but your intuition is the finish line, a spiritual life that is authentic, vibrant, and entirely your own. We've arrived at the most essential question in our journey. Can intuition and dogma truly coexist? After exploring the unique power of our inner voice and the potential pitfalls of rigid external structures, the answer is a resounding yes, but only with clear and intentional boundaries. The key is shifting the power dynamic. Dogma must become the guide, never the master. It should function as a rich spiritual library, not a mandatory instruction manual. You are the curator, the scholar, and the ultimate editor of your own life story. Ancient traditions are not simply arbitrary rules. They are often repositories of profound, hard-won human experience. They contain wisdom about human nature, community, and our relationship to the divine that has stood the test of time. Your task is to approach these traditions with an open mind, but a closed front door to anything that demands you deny your inner truth. When you encounter a teaching, a scripture, or a rule from an external tradition, ask yourself one simple question. Does this resonate with the deepest, most loving part of my soul? If the teaching promotes unconditional love, compassion, self-responsibility, and unity, it often aligns with intuitive truth regardless of its source. If it promotes fear, exclusivity, or self-diminishment, it's a sign that you are encountering the cage, not the comfort. Dogma often provides a structure, a how-to. For example, a tradition might emphasize fasting, the how, to cultivate self-control and clarity, the why. You can respect the wisdom, the why, without rigidly adhering to the specific how. You may find your intuition guides you to a different form of self-discipline that is more effective for your journey. Use your inner voice as the ultimate spiritual translator. Ancient texts are often products of specific cultural, historical, and linguistic contexts. Your intuition can help you strip away those layers and access the universal, timeless truth underneath. It allows you to see the metaphorical meaning in a story, rather than being trapped by its literal interpretation. Your inner wisdom knows the difference between a timeless lesson and a cultural relic. This integrated approach is the ultimate act of spiritual maturity. It allows us to honor the paths of those who came before us, to participate in the beauty of shared tradition, but to do so with open eyes and an unwavering reliance on the compass within our own heart. The goal is a spiritual life that is both rooted in timeless wisdom and free to evolve with your own soul's growth. A life where the sacred texts and rituals enrich your journey, but never dictate your destination. We've already established that our goal is not to abandon all tradition, but to master the art of discerning its value. This final skill is the ultimate test, recognizing when established teachings serve as helpful signposts versus when they become restrictive barriers on your unique path. This is where your reclaimed intuitive power becomes your most valuable asset. Every teaching you encounter, whether it's a sacred text, a spiritual rule, or an ancestral tradition, must pass one simple yet powerful test. A teaching is a signpost when it points you toward a destination without chaining you to the spot. It is helpful. How do you recognize it? 1. It promotes inner freedom. A signpost teaching inspires you to look inward. It encourages self-reflection, personal accountability, and deep connection. It says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It doesn't tell you what to think, but how to inquire. 2. It offers universal principles. Signposts often highlight timeless, universal truths like the value of compassion, forgiveness, or selfless service. These are ethical foundations that benefit all beings, transcending any one culture or era. 3. It is expansive. A helpful teaching opens up new possibilities for growth and deeper understanding. It feels like an addition to your life, offering context, history, or a beautiful ritual that enhances your existing spiritual practice. A teaching is a restrictive barrier when its primary function is to limit, exclude, or frighten you into submission. It is dogma attempting to be the master. 1. It demands conformity. A barrier insists that its way is the only way. It says, believe this or you are wrong, unworthy, unloved. It replaces personal experience with mandated belief, demanding adherence over actual understanding. 2. It generates fear and guilt. This is the clearest warning sign. Teachings that use shame, wilt, or the threat of punishment to enforce compliance are attempting to control, not to guide. Your intuition, rooted in love, will recoil from fear-based teachings. 3. It discourages questioning. If a structure immediately shuts down sincere inquiry with phrases like, you must simply have faith, or it is not for us to understand, it's protecting its own power, not your spiritual growth. The truth can always withstand scrutiny. Only rigid dogma fears the question. Your spiritual life is not a standardized test. It is a masterpiece created by your soul. Dogma provides the beautiful canvas and perhaps some historical color palettes, but your intuition holds the brush. Use the established teachings to illuminate your unique path, never to overshadow it. So, I empower you now. Go forth. Be discerning. Be respectful of tradition, but be fiercely devoted to the truth that resides within you. Thank you for tuning in to this journey of intuition versus dogma. If share your thoughts below on a time you broke through a barrier to follow a signpost. Keep listening to that most trusted voice inside. We have traveled through the whispers of intuition, navigated the structures of dogma, and learned to discern signposts from barriers. Now we arrive at the destination, the personalized spiritual odyssey. This is where we embrace the extraordinary freedom and the profound responsibility of being your own spiritual authority. For many of us, the idea of being our own final spiritual authority is terrifying. We've been conditioned to look for the expert, the guru, the sacred text. But when you claim this authority, you are simply acknowledging that the most qualified expert on your soul's journey is you. This is the moment of liberation, a beautiful shedding of expectations that don't belong to you. It means that your path is now defined by authenticity, not adherence. It means your connection to the divine is direct, unmediated, and unfiltered by fear. When you rely on your intuition, your connection to the sacred becomes intensely genuine. You move past secondhand beliefs and into firsthand experience. You no longer believe in love or compassion because a book tells you to. You feel the truth of it in your bones because your own inner compass points there. This personalized spiritual life is one where your prayers are your own honest conversations, where your rituals are those that truly resonate with your energy, and where your spiritual evolution is a living, breathing process, not a static declaration. The reward for this bravery is twofold: authenticity and profound peace. Authenticity flows because there is no gap between what you believe privately and how you behave publicly. You are living from your core truth. The energy you spent trying to fit into a mold that wasn't designed for you is now redirected toward genuine, creative living. And finally, profound peace. This peace comes from the deepest possible knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be. You have stopped fighting your own inner wisdom. The conflicts that arise from trying to reconcile your soul with external limiting rules simply dissolve. You trade the anxiety of seeking external approval for the quiet certainty of inner validation. The journey of spiritual understanding is ultimately a journey home, a return to your true, unedited, intuitively guided self. Use Dogma for the wisdom it offers, but let your intuition be the voice that steers your ship. At some point, you must choose to keep following the map drawn by others, or to trust the compass of your own soul. When you do, spirituality stops being a system and becomes an adventure. You become your own teacher, your own guide, your own sanctuary. And in that freedom, you find a peace that no doctrine can give because it's yours. So start today, reclaim your inner knowing. Cultivate your unique spiritual blueprint. The world doesn't need more followers, it needs awakened creators of truth. Thank you for being part of this exploration of intuition versus dogma. If this vision of a personalized path lights a fire within you, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. What does being your own spiritual authority mean to you? Share your thoughts below. Until next time, embark on your odyssey and trust the journey. Universal Consciousness, signing out.